When I was 15, I met a girl that completely changed my life, and we never even dated. So let me explain. Years before I met this girl, I always thought I was the person who could never get into a relationship. Not because I thought I was ugly or weird or anything like that. I was honestly just too scared to talk to girls. Yes, I did lack confidence, but the thought of me going up to a girl and talking to her and trying to date a girl did not make sense in my head. Now, when I was way younger, this was never a problem because no one that I knew even had a girlfriend. Nobody even really talked about it that much. Until eventually in middle school, all of my friends started getting girlfriends. Like even my best friend and all of my closest friends, and they would all talk about it so much. It honestly started out with one of my friends. I remember him specifically mentioning that he's talking to this girl, and this girl was considered highly attractive by like a ton of the other guys in my grade at the time. And as soon as he did that, it set off like a trail of like every single other guy in my grade that was in my friend group also getting girls. So this thing that wasn't a problem my entire life suddenly became a big problem because now, just because I don't have a girlfriend, I'm seen as kind of weird. And this really started to hurt me because I remember as the years went on, I would think about it and I would want to get a girlfriend, but I had no idea how to do it. This went on for so long that eventually I just gave up. I decided that this whole relationship thing was not for me, and I'm not even gonna try this thing. By giving up, this gave me a sense of peace because I knew I wasn't trying anymore. So if anybody had asked me about it, I would just say, yeah, I'm not trying to get a girlfriend, so that's why I'm single. When in reality, I just truly believed that it wasn't possible for me at the time, at least. Until eventually I met this one girl. This girl, I remember seeing her in my school, and she was one that I did not know. I never spoke to her, never had any classes with her, but I really thought she just looked attractive at the time, I guess. Now, at that time, I had many crushes, and it had never turned into anything because I would never talk to them. Like, I didn't even consider talking to them because getting rejected in school was probably my biggest fear. Because I remember seeing some sort of like promposals on Vine at the time or whatever it might have been go wrong, and that just terrified me. I thought that this was probably the worst thing that could happen in school. I was so scared of this, in fact, that the first ever dance that I had, I just didn't ask anyone, and I didn't go because I didn't want to risk getting a no as an answer. And for this girl, I was fine if I never talked to her until eventually I was put in a position where I had to. So my friends ended up inviting me to a football game. I had never been to a football game in my entire life, but I decided that I should probably go to one while I'm still in middle school or high school. So why would I say no? So the night that I was asked to go, I end up putting on the best outfit that I could find. I tried to look as good as possible, and my style was kind of unique. I didn't really wear the most common things that you would see around school, like, I don't know, maybe just like Nike or whatever, but I decided for this specific event, I was going to look normal. I wanted to dress like everybody else. So first thing I do is I grab these gray Nike sweatpants that I had just bought, and at my school, this was like the hot thing. Like anybody who was popular or attractive or whatever would always wear these Nike gray sweatpants. So I grabbed those, and then I grabbed the shirt, which was actually the color of the theme that was going on at my school at the time. This specific football game was like this blue theme, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna wear this, and my outfit looks really good. And then I specifically remember after that, before I left, I grabbed Axe body spray and absolutely drenched myself. Like half a can of Axe body spray, just sprayed it all over myself to make sure that I smelled really good for anybody that I might see when I'm there. And to top everything off, I had this sort of like Justin Bieber bowl cut, but I decided that I was gonna try to get the fluffy hair. The hair that everybody sees everywhere now. You know, the hair that stands up in the front, kind of like what I have right now. I decided that I was gonna try to get that. So I ended up mixing some salt and water and spraying it all in my hair, and it actually did kind of work. So now it was time to go. The one friend that I was going with, I didn't even know if this guy was gonna show up. He was saying that I should just go and we'll meet there. So I didn't know if he was there already or if he was gonna come after. So I was taking a big risk because now, if this didn't work out, I would have been showing up to a football game completely by myself, which is something that is frowned upon, especially at my school at the time. So I'm in the car waiting, and I'm just really nervous, but I'm also kind of excited for my first ever game. Even though I've never gone before, I just seen it in like high school movies or whatever, and I thought it would be really fun. So I'm waiting, and I get there, and my friend doesn't show up in time. I couldn't find him anywhere. Like, he was saying that he was going to be there, we were going to meet there. So then I go in by myself. And luckily, as soon as I walk in, I see some other people that I knew. It was like acquaintances, not people that I knew closely, but it was crazy. I remember walking in, passing the ticket booth, and I was standing there, and all of these kids that I saw in my classes, it was my first time seeing a lot of them outside of school, and it was a completely different feeling. I was looking around, I was seeing some like parade going around. It was crazy looking, and I decided that this might actually be fun until I look around and I notice that none of the students are actually watching the game. Everybody that's going around is pretty much just running around this like park area next to the bleachers, which I thought was weird. I was like, isn't this a football game? Isn't that the point of this, is to watch the game? But no, that was not the point. The point for everybody here, it was basically a popularity contest, which for me was not looking good considering I just came to this place completely alone. So now I'm looking around, I'm waiting. I just want somebody to come and save me. Just somebody that I kind of know. It's kind of like whenever I had to choose a class project. If I didn't know anyone in the class, I would just find somebody and hope that they chose me. It was kind of like that. I needed somebody to come up to me and make me look like I wasn't here alone. So I'm walking around until eventually I get a text from my friend saying that he's going to be 30 minutes late. So now I'm sitting here. I literally have like my hand on my face thinking like, what am I going to do now that he's not showing up? And I'm walking around, just looking around. I end up going to the bathroom. I see all these kids like vaping in there, and it was a horrible environment for me because I was like this good kid that never wanted to like do anything wrong. I didn't want to vape. I never even cussed or anything. So I'm walking around the bathroom and I'm seeing all these kids, and then I see these like sort of like delinquent kids that like I do not mess with, like coming up to me asking if I want to hit the vape. And I was thinking like, do I talk to them so that I don't look like I'm completely alone here, or do I just walk away? I decided that I was going to walk away, so now I'm still alone. I eventually go to the bleachers. Now, in the bleachers alone is a completely different story, because if I'm walking around this like stadium area, at least it looks like I'm like going to do something. But if I'm sitting there alone, it's very obvious that I'm literally not with anyone. So I go there, I'm standing, and luckily I see one of my friends that was in one of my classes. We had been assigned like some sort of assignment together. I don't know what it was. And I just start talking to him because he was alone too. As we're talking, we actually start getting along really well, and everything was going perfect. I was talking to him, watching the game, and we decided that we were going to go to the concession stand area where everybody's running around. And I was still kind of nervous, but I decided that I was going to do it. So we go down past the bleachers into this little section, and I see the girl that I remember seeing in school that I knew that I was never going to talk to, anything like that. And she was standing in line. So my friend and I go up to that line and we start standing there too. And she's like a few people ahead of me, so I don't really say anything to her. Everybody's just like buying their food and drinks or whatever, until eventually she turns around, looks at me, and just sticks her hand out. I'm like, what's going on? She literally just shook my hand without saying anything, without knowing me. And she said, "Hi, I'm Marissa." I'll just call her Marissa. That's not her name. But she was like, "Hi, I'm Marissa. What's your name?" I was like, "I'm Dylan." And I was like going from completely nervous to so excited. I can't even explain how excited I was in that moment. I specifically remember like all these feelings going through my head, like, oh my gosh, this girl is like literally the one girl I thought I was never gonna talk to, and I did. And she came up to me first, which was really crazy at that time. And I was like a mix of like nervous, but also like feeling like, I guess, these butterflies or whatever, because the way that she did it was like in a flirtatious way, which is something that I would not have expected. Then while I'm standing in line, this one like idiot guy comes up, and he's like drunk or something. And mind you, this is high school, but people are still already doing this stuff. But this kid is like completely drunk, and he's like flailing his arms around, yelling at people. And out of all people, mind you, there's like a crowd here, he comes up to me and he starts like saying stuff about me, trying to like act like he's my friend, and then like kind of joke with me. It was so weird. And the girl's just watching this happen. And I glance over at her, and she's just laughing. And I felt so embarrassed. I'm like, there's no way this girl thinks that I'm friends with this guy. So he goes, and her friend at the time, I don't know why she did this, but she goes in the line, buys a water bottle, and just dumps it on his head. And then I go to the girl that shook my hand, and I start talking to her, Marissa. And I'm sitting there, and the only reason that I started talking to her is because her friend left her. So I was like, she's alone, might as well go up. And by the way, this is a risky thing to do, but I decided I was going to do it anyway. So I go up to her, start talking to her, and it went really well. I didn't use Snapchat at the time, but she said, "Can I have your Snap?" And I was like, bro, what is happening? This girl is making all the moves on me. Like, I don't even have to try. Like, she's just doing this for me. So I get out Snapchat, and I had barely used it. I'm going to like try to figure out where my Snapchat is, and then she just snatches my phone out of my hand and adds herself. And this is where everything really started. She starts texting me while we're at the game, and we start actually hanging out, just at the game. And we're in the bleachers watching it happen while everyone else is running around, and we're just talking. Everything was going well, nothing too crazy happened. It was pretty friendly, but eventually she had to leave. I don't know why, but she left early, and I'm sitting there alone. But as she left, a good sign to me is that she kept texting me. She basically continued the conversation that we were going on. And that night when I got home, we ended up FaceTiming. And I didn't know this was a thing at the time, but apparently it is when you FaceTime a girl, if they fall asleep on FaceTime with you, like you just leave your phone on the entire night, it's like a good sign. So the girl really likes you if that happens, I guess. And I thought it was so dumb because I don't want like my phone to get ruined. I don't know. I just didn't make sense to me, but I did it anyway because that's, I guess, what she wanted. Now, ever since that one night, me and this one girl were talking ever since. And eventually I find out that this girl had a boyfriend. And I was scared because this boyfriend was not just like any boyfriend. This was the boyfriend that every single person knew. Mind you, like I said, this girl was like relatively popular, and yeah, this girl had a boyfriend. And apparently it had gotten out that me and this girl were talking or texting or whatever, and everybody started to talk about it. So it was like this sort of drama that was going around. And at the time, I decided that I was gonna start watching fight videos, just in case I ever had to fight this guy. So I'm watching like how to win a fist fight, how to win a street fight, all this, and I'm getting prepared. And eventually, one day I show up to school, and I get surrounded by a bunch of these guys, and I see the boyfriend, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these fighting videos are about to pay off. I'm about to get jumped. Like, I'm absolutely screwed right now. And all of this over a girl as well. So now I'm waiting. I'm basically getting prepared to fight, and then luckily, the guy pretty much just lets it go. He seemed really annoyed at me, and I guarantee he hated me, and he probably still hates me, but he just kind of like let it blow off. And I think it's because maybe he was all talk, I'm not exactly sure, but this was me facing my fears. I was ready to fight this guy, but it just didn't happen. So now I go back and I start talking to this girl, and I'm telling her that I feel really bad and that it's probably not going to work because, I don't know, this whole scenario was really weird. But I decided I was going to hang out with her one more time. So I ended up going to her house, which this is the first time I ever went to a girl's house in my entire life. I go to her house, we're talking, I'm sitting there, and she actually tried to make a move on me, but I decided that I'm not going to do anything. So as soon as she did that, I basically left. I left this girl, and I felt heartbroken because I didn't leave because I didn't like this girl. I left because I felt like I had to, and it was not the right time, the right moment, or anything. I had literally gotten the girl that I had wanted this whole entire time. Everything that I had been leading up to was there right in front of me. And I turned around and I said, no. Then as soon as that happened, I felt extreme regret. I felt like I had done something really wrong, and maybe I did. But what I really learned is that the issue was not that I couldn't get a girl or anything like that. The issue is that I was not prioritizing myself. When I had started talking to this girl, it was so much more about her than it was me trying to get to where I need to be. And what I learned from this whole thing is that yes, you might feel like you're missing out at times, and it's gonna feel like that with a lot of different things. Everybody gets that fear, like maybe you don't go to this party, maybe you don't do this thing, you don't take this class with this one person. But what I realized is that a lot of these things never turn out to be what they're supposed to be. In reality, what you find is that sort of emptiness that you feel is not caused by this missing out, but something else. So it's all about finding whatever that thing is. And for me, I just had to build my confidence. I had to become a better person, and that's what I wanted to do. Now that I moved out of the state, I don't know if I'll ever see this girl again, but if I do, maybe I'll try again.